Life without the sun. Imagine waking up tomorrow morning. You stretch, check your phone, and walk toward the window expecting the familiar glow of sunrise. Instead, there is only darkness. Not the darkness of a storm. Not the darkness of an eclipse. A darkness so complete that the stars are still visible overhead. At first, you assume it's just an unusually cloudy morning. Maybe there's been a power outage. Maybe you've slept longer than you thought. But something feels wrong. The birds are silent. The air feels strangely still. Streetlights remain on. Across your neighborhood, people begin stepping outside, staring upward, waiting for a sunrise that never comes. Because somewhere, 150 million kilometers away, the sun has disappeared. Not exploded, not faded. Simply gone. It sounds impossible. Yet this raises one of the most fascinating questions in science. If the sun vanished in an instant, what would actually happen to Earth? Would we freeze immediately? Would gravity suddenly disappear? Would life end within hours? The answers are far stranger than most people imagine. Because even though the sun would be gone, Earth wouldn't know it. Not yet. The reason lies in one of the fastest things in the universe: light. Although light travels at nearly 300,000 kilometers every second, space is unimaginably vast. Sunlight takes approximately 8 minutes and 20 seconds to travel from the sun to Earth. That means if the sun somehow vanished right now, its final rays would still be racing through space toward us. For 8 minutes and 20 seconds, everything would appear completely normal. People would continue driving to work. Children would walk to school. Airplanes would cruise across bright blue skies. The oceans would sparkle beneath sunlight that no longer had a source. Even the warmth on your skin would feel exactly the same. It's a strange thought. For more than 8 minutes, humanity would continue living beneath the light of a star that no longer exists. Then, the final photon arrives. Across the entire daylight side of Earth, the sky changes almost instantly. Blue becomes black. The sun vanishes. Shadows disappear. The stars emerge in the middle of the afternoon. For the first time in human history, billions of people witness true daytime darkness. Almost immediately, another familiar object disappears: the moon. Many people forget that the moon doesn't produce its own light. It shines only because it reflects sunlight. Without the sun, the moon becomes nothing more than a dark rock drifting through space, nearly impossible to see with the naked eye. Within minutes, confusion spreads across the planet. Astronomers point their telescopes toward the empty patch of sky where the sun should be. Weather stations stop receiving useful solar data. News networks interrupt every broadcast. Governments declare states of emergency without even knowing what emergency they're facing. Social media floods with theories: a secret weapon, an alien attack, a computer simulation failing, the end of the world. But scientists soon realize something even more terrifying. This isn't an eclipse. It's something the laws of physics were never supposed to allow. Then another invisible change arrives: gravity. According to Einstein's theory of general relativity, changes in gravity also travel at the speed of light. That means Earth's orbit doesn't change immediately when the sun disappears. For those same 8 minutes and 20 seconds, our planet continues circling an object that is no longer there. Only when gravity's final influence reaches Earth does everything change. Without the sun's enormous gravitational pull, Earth is no longer trapped in its familiar orbit. Instead of circling the sun, Our planet shoots off into space in a perfectly straight line, carrying the moon and everything on it along for the ride. Most people would never feel this happen. There would be no sudden jolt, no violent shaking, no earthquake announcing humanity's new journey. Earth would simply begin drifting through the darkness of interstellar space, becoming what astronomers call a rogue planet, a world wandering the galaxy without a star. Surprisingly, the greatest danger isn't darkness, it's cold. Many imagine Earth would freeze instantly. But our planet is remarkably good at storing heat. The land, the oceans, and even the atmosphere act like enormous thermal batteries, slowly releasing the energy they absorbed from countless sunrises before. During the first day, the average global temperature falls only a few degrees, cold enough to notice, not cold enough to be catastrophic. Life continues almost as normal. Hospitals remain open, cars still drive, homes still have electricity where power stations continue operating. But outside, there is no dawn, no sunset, only an endless night. People quickly lose track of time. Without sunlight, the human brain struggles to maintain its internal clock. Our circadian rhythm evolved over millions of years around a simple cycle of day and night. Without that daily signal, sleep becomes irregular. Some people stay awake for nearly an entire day. Others sleep at random hours. Anxiety rises rapidly as the world's most reliable clock simply disappears. Meanwhile, nature is already beginning to unravel. Plants can no longer perform photosynthesis. For billions of years, sunlight has powered the process that turns water and carbon dioxide into oxygen and sugars. In a single moment, that energy source is gone. Most plants don't die immediately. Like animals, they have stored energy. But they stop making new food. It's as if every forest, every field, and every blade of grass has been placed on a countdown. By the end of the first week, the consequences become impossible to ignore. Average temperatures around the world fall below freezing. Snow begins covering regions that rarely see winter. Rivers slowly develop sheets of ice. Farmers realize their crops will never recover. Solar panels produce absolutely nothing. Countries that relied heavily on renewable energy suddenly face massive shortages, forcing power grids to depend entirely on nuclear plants, hydroelectric dams, natural gas, coal, and whatever fuel remains. Demand for heating reaches levels never seen before. Entire cities glow with artificial light, but every light bulb is only delaying the inevitable. Outside those pockets of warmth, the darkness is absolute. Animals become increasingly disoriented. Birds never begin their morning songs. Migratory species lose the environmental cues that guide journeys spanning thousands of kilometers. Predators and prey alike struggle to adapt to a world where morning never comes. Humanity slowly realizes a painful truth. The sun wasn't just providing light. It had been quietly controlling nearly every system that made life on Earth possible. And this is only the beginning. Because while people fight to stay warm, the oceans are preparing to reveal just how long they can hold onto the last traces of the sun's warmth. While people fight to stay warm, the oceans are quietly slowing Earth's descent into an endless winter. Water has an extraordinary ability to store heat. For millions of years, the oceans have absorbed energy from the sun, acting as the planet's largest natural heat reservoir. Even after the sun disappears, that stored energy doesn't vanish overnight. Instead, it escapes little by little. This is why the oceans don't instantly become solid blocks of ice. The surface freezes first. A thin layer of ice begins spreading across lakes and seas, growing thicker with every passing day. But beneath that frozen shell, vast amounts of liquid water remain. Ironically, the ice itself slows the freezing process. Just like a blanket keeps you warm on a cold night, ice insulates the water below, trapping what little heat is left. Even as the surface becomes a frozen wasteland, life still survives in the darkness beneath. But on land, the situation is becoming desperate. After 1 month, Earth's average surface temperature has fallen to around -40 degrees Celsius. Entire forests stand frozen in complete silence. Leaves remain attached to branches, preserved by the cold, before eventually falling onto snow-covered ground that will never see spring again. Farms no longer produce food. Greenhouses provide only temporary relief, relying entirely on artificial lighting and enormous amounts of electricity. Global supply chains collapse. Fresh fruit becomes a memory. Bread, vegetables, and meat become luxuries. Governments begin rationing everything: food, fuel, medicine, heat. The world's wealthiest nations discover that money means very little when sunlight itself has disappeared. As the months pass, humanity retreats underground. Subway tunnels become shelters. Abandoned mines are transformed into underground communities. Military bunkers reopen. Deep beneath the surface, temperatures remain surprisingly stable because Earth's interior is still hot. Our planet isn't warmed only by the sun. Its core, estimated to be over 5,000 degrees Celsius, continues producing heat through radioactive decay and the leftover energy from Earth's formation billions of years ago. Although that heat is nowhere near enough to warm the surface, it offers humanity its best chance of survival. Countries with geothermal energy suddenly possess one of the most valuable resources on Earth. Places once known for volcanic activity become centers of civilization. Iceland, parts of New Zealand, regions surrounding geothermal fields. These locations, once famous for hot springs and geysers, become lifelines for the last remaining populations. Nuclear reactors become equally important. Unlike solar panels, they don't depend on sunlight. For as long as fuel and skilled engineers remain available, reactors provide electricity for heating, water purification, and indoor farming. Artificial sunlight becomes more valuable than gold. Powerful LED systems illuminate underground farms where potatoes, wheat, lettuce, and other crops struggle to replace the role the sun once played so effortlessly. Life continues. But every calorie now comes at an enormous cost. 1 year after the sun disappears, Earth has become unrecognizable. Average global temperatures have fallen to nearly -73 degrees Celsius. Most of the world's surface can no longer support human life without specialized equipment. Breathing outside is dangerous. Exposed skin freezes within minutes. Many familiar landmarks have vanished beneath snow and ice. Yet one of the greatest surprises lies far below the frozen oceans. Near the ocean floor are places called hydrothermal vents. These underwater cracks release mineral-rich water heated by Earth's interior. Unlike forests or grasslands, these ecosystems never relied on sunlight. Instead, tiny microorganisms use chemicals such as hydrogen sulfide to produce energy through a process known as chemosynthesis. Those microbes feed worms, crabs, shrimp, and entire communities of strange animals that have lived in darkness for millions of years. While life on the surface collapses, these deep-sea ecosystems continue almost unchanged. It's a remarkable reminder that life doesn't always need sunlight. Sometimes, it simply finds another way. Years become decades, decades become centuries. The frozen shell covering Earth's oceans grows thicker and thicker. Eventually, it measures hundreds of meters deep, then kilometers. Beneath that immense layer of ice, liquid water still exists in places, warmed by geothermal heat trapped inside the planet. If humans are still alive, they rarely venture to the surface. Children grow up without ever seeing a sunrise, without shadows, without blue skies, without rainbows. Stories about sunsets sound like fairy tales. Teachers describe clouds glowing orange at dusk, fields covered in green grass, warm beaches, summer afternoons. To the next generation, it sounds impossible. Imagine trying to explain sunlight to someone who has never seen light. How would you describe warmth that falls from the sky, or the feeling of standing in sunshine after a cold winter morning? Some experiences are so fundamental that we only realize their value once they're gone. Thousands of years pass. The atmosphere itself begins changing. Without plants continually producing oxygen through photosynthesis, oxygen levels slowly decline. The process takes an incredibly long time, but eventually Earth's breathable air becomes harder to maintain. At the same time, gases in the upper atmosphere grow colder and colder. Some begin freezing onto the surface. Earth now resembles the icy moons orbiting the outer planets, far more than the vibrant blue world shown in photographs today. Still, the planet continues its silent journey through interstellar space. No sunrise marks the passing of days. No seasons separate one year from the next. Only endless darkness and the faint glow of distant stars. Astronomers call worlds like this rogue planets. Scientists estimate there may be billions of them wandering through our galaxy alone. Perhaps somewhere out there, another frozen Earth drifts through the darkness, carrying secrets we may never discover. It's easy to think of the sun as ordinary. After all, it rises every morning without asking for thanks. It shines on deserts, oceans, cities, and forests alike. We complain when it's too hot. We hide from it beneath umbrellas. We barely notice it on most ordinary days. Yet every loaf of bread you've ever eaten, every tree you've climbed, every bird you've heard singing, every breath you've taken, exists because of that single star. The oxygen in your lungs was made possible by sunlight. The food on your plate began with sunlight. Even the fossil fuels that power our modern world are ancient sunlight, stored inside plants that lived hundreds of millions of years ago. The sun isn't just a giant ball of burning gas. It is the engine of Earth's entire living system. Without it, our planet doesn't explode. It doesn't crack apart. It simply becomes quieter, colder, and lonelier with every passing year. So tomorrow morning, when the first rays of sunlight reach your window, remember the incredible journey they have taken. Those photons left the surface of the sun more than 8 minutes ago, traveling across 150 million kilometers of empty space before gently landing on your face. A journey repeated every single day for billions of years. And perhaps the greatest miracle isn't that the sun shines. It's that we've become so accustomed to its light that we almost forgot how extraordinary it truly is.